Now, I know probably some of you are wondering what I mean by tribes. So I'm just going to jump to have a look at tier 3, for example. So we've got here is Cobalt Guardian, which is a mech. You can see down here it's actually been labeled. And then we have here is Floating Watcher, and this is another demon specific minion as well. And then we have, and then take this one as well, we have got a beast card here. And then last but not least, we have got ourselves a Murloc card here as well. It's the only Murloc card for this tier, actually, surprisingly. And then yeah, so that is pretty much the 4 main tribes. You do have some that are not categorized, but that's far few in between. But these are your main tribes, just to, you know, keep an eye out for whenever you do play. So yeah, and it's a matter of knowing. You're never going to know what your tribe is going to be in the first 2 games. When I say games, I mean rounds. You won't really know until probably about the 3rd or 4th turn, and it greatly depends on what the RNG summons for you. And sometimes as well, like just as an example, Murlocs are very, very difficult mid-game. They're extremely strong beginning, but sometimes in mid-game you have to mix and match it with other minions in order to keep them sustainable, because you really, really don't get the good Murlocs after tier 2. You don't really get the really good ones until about tier 4 or tier 5. Tier 4 and tier 5, sorry. So yeah, you just got to be really, really aware of that, for example. So what else we're going to be discussing about? And then there are a couple of other minions that may not belong to a particular tribe. There's very few of those cards around, and when I say they don't belong to a particular tribe, they won't be marked. I'm just trying to find one, for example. Yeah, here we go. So we'll take Selfless Hero. See here, this one is an odd one out. It doesn't have a particular tribe that it belongs to, so it just essentially you know, can work with any tribe, which is great. So you don't really have to fuss and focus about that. And there are some others as well, like you've got Righteous Protector, but that one doesn't really do as well. Even Selfless Hero is a pretty good minion. You could take that to mid-game quite comfortably, but only if you really, really need it, and like your team is like super weak. There is a time and a place for every minion and where it works and how it goes. So for example, Selfless Hero would be the first card that you would have on your board placement. And yeah, so there's synergies as well. So we've even got by the ability. So when I say synergies, I mean there are some cards that just work harmoniously in teams. Let's take this card for example. This is the Soul Juggler. This is a card, or a minion I should say, that you can't live without at all in your demon teams. You really need that in order to make the most out of your team. So how it works is that whenever a friendly demon dies, 3 damage is dealt to a random enemy minion. So if you're knocking out demons left, right and center, Soul Juggler is just going to be absolutely profuse. And I have seen, although very rarely, some demon minions have had 2 triple Soul Jugglers, and they're just horrific. Even though they can be weak on their own, but as tripled, wow, they can be really difficult and really annoying, and it's all due to board placement that makes them so strong, because you never put them at the front. or the start of your board. Now let's talk about another good synergy. So we are going to, I think this one's in tier 2 if I'm not mistaken. So this one works very similar but not much the same. So every time so it is pretty much the same. So whenever a friendly beast dies, this gains +2/+1. And there are some different ways in order to get this scavenging hyena up to its best potential, and that is mostly through doing rat packs. And if you're not familiar with rat packs, they spawn out a whole heap of rats, and again you need some awesome synergy. If you've got Baron Rivendare, the amount of rat packs that can spawn out are incredible. But there is like a budget version. You've got Kataka, also very amazing as well. So that's that one for beasts. Then we'll talk about there is one other one. So that we've done demon, we've done beasts. Yes, we've got the junk bot, and I believe that's in tier 5 if memory serves me correctly. Here we go. And then we got, last but not least, we have got the junk bot. And so whenever a friendly mech dies, it gains +2/+2. So again, works much the same like as scavenging hyena. I must admit they're not essential. It really depends what your opponent is running, and cleaves is a big one that you have to worry about. And when I say cleave, I'm actually referring to the ability that a minion can actually like knock out 2 of your figures, not knock out but hurt the minions that are left and right of whichever one's attacking. So yeah, that can be pretty intense. Now unfortunately Murlocs really don't have anything as significant like this. I'd have to say the closest one, but it doesn't accumulate, is the stated Threshodon, but it's more so death rattle synergy than it is a minion that actually accumulates all the attack damage from, or accumulating health and attack from minions that die. It's more so different, but this is pretty much the only thing you're going to get that's relatively close, and even then it doesn't compare to what Scavenging Hyena or what Soul Juggler does, or even what Junkbot does. So unfortunately the Murlocs get left in the dust for stuff like that, but their strength does come in other ways. So we have got buffs and synergy. Okay, that is pretty much all of your buff cards. Oh, I nearly forgot that one too. Shivers. And there it is. That is pretty much all of them, guys. Way more than what I expected. So we've got here is Phalanx Commander. We've got Nathadrim Overseer, Cold Light Seer, Vermin Sensei, Menagerie Magician, Crystal Weaver, Metal Tooth Leaper, Hound Master, Zoobot, Screwjank Clunker, and Strong Shell Scavenger. Oof, that was a lot to say. So let's take, for example, Strong Shell Scavenger. Now, not all of these minions here are going to work the same as, like, they're not like all rounded and they'll do exactly the same. Each does different things, and you have to be like really careful as to how you place your minions and what you do with them. And it's really important that you read the description, because some will do things that you don't really want them to do. So for example, let's say the one I would say here that is most crucial, and this is the tier 4 minion from the beast. It is called Cave Hydra. Now that one, by a long shot, you don't want it to have a taunt. Now what taunt is, and I will show it to you, is it looks like this little thing here. So essentially it goes over your minion, and it looks like this. And honest to goodness, you really don't want it to be stuck over your minion, especially in this instance a cave hydra, because a taunt minion means it has to be attacked first, and you don't want cave hydra to be knocked out. It needs to knock out the opposition to make the full advantage of it. So it's very important when it comes to these cards that buff, that they serve a very important purpose, and that they only buff what they're supposed to be buffing, and be very careful when you do so, because once you taunt a minion, the only way to remove it is by selling, and especially if it's a tier 4 or a tier 5, the likelihood of you finding it again is unlikely, especially if there is more than 2 or 3 players that could be playing the same tribe as you. So they're just things you need to be careful of, and which is why I'm creating this video. So that is an example. And see, Houndmaster, this one right here, if I can just click on it. This one here that I'm flashing on and off, just be very careful, because it says in bold, give a friendly beast +2/+2 and taunt. So that means this works well with beasts, however it will give it a shield like I showed you above, and you don't want that for your cave hydra. It'll just be game over for poor cave hydra. But other cards that are more gentle is, example here is the Vermin Sensei. So hang on, let me just find this one here, the one I'm flashing on and off, and I will drag it in a circle. So this one here is a gentle card, and it will just buff your cave hydra, but it will leave it as it is, and it won't add a shield to it, which is like really important. Now I will go into further discussing about I will go into further about shields and stuff, and how they all work. Alright guys, sorry about that. So I had to just change the background and everything because yeah, it didn't look very good. Yeah, because I realized it was too busy with the other one. I will switch it over when required. So for this one, for example, is that, yeah, so you can see all the ones that work, and then like you've even got your Netherism, the Overseer as well. So this one, for example, only works specifically for demons, and then like for your Metal Tooth Leaper, as I was sharing earlier, that one is only meant for it's only meant for your mech minions. And then the Phalanx, this one here is really interesting. Again, see how this one here doesn't specify. I wanted to talk to you about this one. It doesn't actually specify a particular tribe that it comes from, which means it has flexibility, and you can pretty much place it anywhere, place it in any team. It doesn't need to belong to a specific tribe in order for it to work, which makes it very versatile. So if you urgently need to buff, or not buff, but urgently need to put a taunt onto a particular minion, you can always reach out to Phalanx to get it, but it's not available to tier 3, unfortunately, but that's just how it goes for some of the cards. And what's even more difficult is that even though Murlocs can be very OP, there is very little to no buff cards for Murlocs. And the thing is that the Cold Light Seer is pretty much the only buff card you are going to get for that tier, unfortunately, but that's just how it goes. I will break down a little bit more as to how what's what I'm trying to think of, sorry guys, as to how like taunting works and why you want to add taunting and where to use it. So I'll go back to my other main board and I will show you like a demonstration of how to place all of your minions correctly, so that way you get full use, and where you can and where you can't really, when I say can't, where you position all your taunting and stuff, because especially with some taunts, you don't want to place a taunt between two minions, because you could accidentally taunt both, and you might not want one minion taunted. And like I said, the only way to remove the taunt is to summon the minion.